Let's get into this Dr. Umar Johnson, one of my favorite people to react to. Make sure you guys hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and then turn on your notifications. We're going to go ahead and get into this Umar Johnson conversation.
I'm going to tell you why New York and Chicago were targeted for the migrants. Bus loads of Latinos being bused from Florida and Texas all the way to New York and Chicago.
V. Scott, I'm going to be reading your super chat shortly. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it, big dog.
Do you think this is a coincidence? Do you think this is a coincidence? Why would they bus thousands of Latin American migrants? Why would they bus thousands of Latin American migrants from Texas and Florida all the way to New York and Chicago?
May I give my theory? One of the reasons why they would bus migrants from from Texas and Florida and all of these conservative states over into California, Chicago, New York, Minnesota, all of these liberal cities and states is because just that they're a part of the liberal plantation that continues to create the worst environment for the people that's in these cities. I don't think it has anything to do with race. I think it has everything to do with class and where it is that you stand on a political spectrum as far as your values and your morals. I also think that it has something to do with money, but I'll get into that in a minute.
Don't say that, brother.
Let me fast forward a little bit.
Exists. You now become an accomplice that white teacher who got caught calling face will not be fired. The school district, Black lives still don't matter. If you make a rainbow joke, you're getting fired. If you make an immigrant, have you occupied the school board meeting, school district where the front of the other students is pull all the kids out of children are returning to school against anti-black racism. 61,000 migrants since last March. New York City, the most crowded, overpopulated, largest city in America, has received 61,000 migrants since March of 2022. Why would you send 61,000 migrants to the largest, most populated, most congested city in America? Why?
And you know what the interesting thing is about it? Do you know what the interesting thing is about this conversation? Is that both cities are ran by black mayors. Both cities have elected, stood on the side of a liberal view, has become sanctuary cities. Shout out to my dog TLA. Both cities are ran by black mayors. Chicago specifically had Beetlejuice prior to the current mayor that they have now. And then also on top of that, you already know what's happening over in New York City. I think that New York City was at its best as far as its transition when it was being ran by. Well, I'll get into that later. Let's continue.
Why? You got Ukrainians gentrifying black neighborhoods. You got Afghanis gentrifying black neighborhoods. Chicago has received 8,000 migrants with many more on the way. Chicago has received 8,000 migrants, many more on the way. New York and Chicago are the two largest black communities in America. You want to know why they bussing migrants from
Contrary to what he's saying, though, that is true in that I believe that New York and Chicago has more black people in general, but actually the blackest city in the United States of America is still Detroit, Michigan. Not necessarily by population, but by how many black people compared to every other race that exists within a city. New York and Chicago, purely based off of population, has more black people. 61,000 and 8,000. New York, Chicago.
Texas and Florida all the way to
That's how many migrants allegedly are being bussed into these cities.
New York and Chicago? Why can't they find another place for them somewhere else? All the states between Texas and Illinois, all the states between Florida and New York, all the states you got to pass. Think about it, brothers and sisters. Look at all the states you have to pass from Florida to Illinois. Look at all the states you have to pass from Texas to New York. Why are they bringing all these migrants to New York and Chicago? Philadelphia, we have 900 migrants with many more to come. Philly has 900 so far with many more to come. They're targeting the 10 blackest cities. Negro removal. This is not a migrant crisis. This is a black replacement crisis. If this was a migrant crisis, why not send them to states that don't have a lot of people?
You know, I'm always baffled by how smart and how ignorant Dr. Umar Johnson is. I'm always just absolutely floored. And when I say ignorant, I'm not saying that in an insulting way, because all ignorance means is not knowing. They don't know any better. But then when you become voluntarily ignorant, it becomes an issue, right? And I'm always baffled because I think that Dr. Umar Johnson is a very intelligent person. His ability to be able to speak, great orator, galvanize people, even be able to get people to continue to contribute to the school for over a decade and still trying to get it running up, right? But what he doesn't understand is that the legislative branches and the people that you have in office is just a reflection of the people that they serve. It's the reason why they get voted in there. It's the reason why, regardless of how much of a hellhole a particular city or state is, they continue to vote the same way because it's easy to get in office regardless of how well you do, because you continue to embrace the thing that you are taught or indoctrinated to continue to rock with. So for example, right? For example, it did not matter how bad of a job Beetlejuice did inside of Chicago. Everybody know who Beetlejuice is, right? Lori Lightfoot. Does not matter how bad of a job that it was over the pandemic. Everything went to trash. The south side of Chicago, you can't even walk down certain streets. There is no safety. They still advocated against having more police officers. They say get less police officers, defund the police, made it less safe, so on and so forth. And then no matter how many weekends, they have shooting after shooting. Memorial Day weekend, everybody that was 2 years old up to 77-year-old. And I'm not even making this up. This is literally a fact. 2 years old to 77-year-olds was getting shot over in Chicago and getting eliminated. Over 50 people over Memorial Day weekend. If you go over to Philly, where allegedly the great Umar Johnson is over there building a school, and you walk down Kensington Avenue, you will see demons literally standing up sleeping. I don't think it's a race thing. If it is a race thing, I think you can only zero it down to the idea that black people inherently automatically believe that they are Democrats and they don't embrace Republican values. They don't, and I'm not even going to say Republican values because I don't even think Republicans are 100% correct. They don't embrace conservative values. They don't believe in structure. They don't believe in capitalism. They believe in socialism. They believe in handouts. They believe that you can continue to elect people based off of race because they want gender politics and they want race politics and they want to have somebody in office that look like them instead of somebody that actually has their best interest at heart. So even though there were obviously better candidates in Chicago to be elected, it didn't matter. It's clearly better candidates to be elected over in California. It didn't matter. The only reason that California even had a Republican governor and the governor and Arnold Schwarzenegger is because he was a fucking celebrity. And it wasn't even because of his politics. It didn't matter what side of the aisle he stood on. The idea that he was a celebrity, and they got him to fuck up out of there ASAP. They said, yo, he over there messing up, busting down the maid. We need to get him up out of there. But Umar would have you to believe, and this is one of the problems that I have, as talented as he is, he would have you to believe that it's based off of identity politics and not based off of where you stand on the political spectrum or as a family, as an individual, and how it is that you see that America needs to be operating as a society. Florida and Texas is paying out of their pocket to get these motherfuckers the fuck out of there. And Chicago and New York is like, yeah, send them here. And then they're paying. The New York governor said they would pay people to have these people housed in their homes. They fucking up the hotel system. If y'all don't know what's happening over in San Francisco is literally going belly up. All of their hotels are going into default. Everybody that was looking at book conferences, because you usually book conferences at least 1 to 2 years, at least 3 years out, they're saying, we're not going to roll over in San Francisco. Homelessness is rampant. Police ain't doing nothing because they tired of continuing to go through the same thing over and over again. Businesses have no control over who sleeps in front of their business. People are literally shitting on the streets in San Francisco. And it's out of control as far as the housing, only because people want to live there based off of the weather. It's no different in San Francisco than it is over there in New York. The whole idea is just that it's just a different weather. It's different weather, but they got the same voting and the same policies, and everything is going to shit over there too. The only thing that San Francisco got going for it is the weather and the idea that they still got businesses over there that's sprouting up, that's a part of the economy or the infrastructure that keep them afloat.
If this was really about finding a place for these migrants, why are they not going to North Dakota? Why are they not?
Because North Dakota said, we ain't fucking with you. The people over in North Dakota said, you not welcome here. The people over there in Minneapolis said, come on in. The people over there in Chicago and Philly and New York, they said, listen, we'll pay for y'all to house them. And we'll also incentivize the hotel system to house them.
Going to South Dakota? Why are they not going to Montana? Why are they not going to Utah? Why are they not sending them to these large white states with small populations? If you want a home, look at all that space.
It's not just about space. It's not
in
about
Montana,
space. It's not about
in
space,
Idaho,
bro.
in North Dakota, in Wyoming, in South Dakota. Why not send them to the white states?
Because they're not accepting them.
Why are you forcing migrants into already overpopulated black cities, brothers and sisters? This is a purge. They are.
I love Umar Johnson. Contrary to popular belief, I know y'all don't believe it. Because the only thing that I don't have anything to say against Umar Johnson personally. I only react to the things that he says, and I react to the content. I love Umar Johnson. I absolutely do. Because Umar Johnson, he is, for me personally, at this point in my life, he is one of the most entertaining people on the face of the planet. And his entertainment factor comes from how ignorant people are that actually listen to this and actually believe that it is based off of a purge of black people. Man, don't y'all know that black people, you can't eliminate black people? It don't matter how long that they was enslaved. It don't matter how many they dropped off into the ocean. It don't matter what happened in history. You are not eliminating black people. They are over there gunned up shooting everything, killing everybody, robbing everybody over there in Chicago. And I'm telling you that that population is going to thrive. They are going to have more babies than the people that they take out. Self-deletion. The only purge is coming from black people killing each other. Man, listen, ain't nobody killing black people except for black people. I know that they try to sell y'all on this police brutality. I know they try to sell y'all and give y'all this whole idea that the whole world is against you. All the black people is going to Atlanta and Houston, big dog. Nobody is taking out black people except for black people. Nobody is taking out black people except for black people. I'm telling you, fam. That's a fact. That is a fact. You can look up the statistics and the data, and it will tell you that.
Are purging black power. They are purging black politics. And they are purging the black population. And they are purging black programs. The reason they are targeting.
Do y'all know that not only was Detroit the blackest city of all time, but Detroit was also the city that was largely the blackest when it came to race politics and somebody looking like you being a reflection of who was in these legislative offices and branches, from the mayor to the school board, the superintendent, to the city council members. Let me tell you what happened in the D. I'm going to tell you honestly what happened in the D. We had Charles Pugh, who a lot of people are not familiar with. We had Charles Pugh, and Charles Pugh was elected based off of identity politics, so he was a black man, and he was gay, or he identified as being gay, and he was popular because he was on the news every day. And so when he, left or lost his job at the news, he decided to run for city council. Well, eventually, they realized that he was talking to underage boys, and he wound up getting convicted. And then they found him and they tracked him down. He was working at a restaurant in another state and all this other type of stuff. And he wound up going to jail and everything. So he completely ruined his life. But the people voted on him based not off of whether or not he would be good for the job or he the best person for the job. It was all based off of the idea that he was Charles Pugh, and it was gender politics and sexual orientation. It's the same thing that happened with Lori Lightfoot. Oh my God, she's going to be the first woman gay mayor over in Chicago. And so they voted based off of identity politics instead of who was best for the position. This is a fact. And so when you're talking about getting rid of our black elected leaders and all of this other type of stuff, it's a farce. I want the best person available for the job, not the person that necessarily looks like me, because I want my city to thrive and I don't really give a fuck about who it is that's running it. It's just the facts.
New York and Chicago, they are the two strongest black political bases. They are the two largest black cities. They need to dilute the political power of black New York City. And
let me show you where the delusion is. Mike B says crime is about proximity. Niggas kill niggas because niggas don't live in mixed communities and because they are idiots that listen to violent music and let celebrities tell them how to live. You're partially right. The other side of that equation, though, is that violent crime is much different than crime. And so when you see that the fact that we're only 13.6% of the population, but we populate overwhelmingly the majority of the prisons, you have to start to parse the data a little bit differently. Yes, crime is based off of proximity, but no, you also have to take into consideration violent crime and how much violent crime based off of how much of the population is being implemented across the board. That makes a difference. So you're partially right, but there's additional context that goes along with it. Thank you for the super chats. I'm going to be reading that shortly. Let's continue to hear what Umar Johnson has to say, ladies and gentlemen.
Need to dilute the political power of black Chicago. And I am disappointed in Mayor Eric Adams, and I am disappointed in Mayor Brandon Johnson. I am disappointed in Mayor Eric Adams, and I am disappointed in Mayor Brandon Johnson, because as black mayors, they should be standing up for black people. They should be saying, my money is for my city. I am not going to take money from black people and give it to people who are not even American citizens.
The majority of the people that pay taxes in New York is not even black people. Do the research. The majority of the taxes that's generated in New York City is not even primarily from black people.
Don't even like black people. These migrants are anti-African. These migrants are anti-African.
Ah.
These migrants, brothers and sisters, are anti-African. So not only are you overpopulating already overpopulated black communities, you are bringing in people who hate us. You are bringing in people who don't like us. Brothers and sisters, this is a purge. They're going to use the migrants to take all the resources, all the food, all the shelters, all the housing, all the jobs, all the medical, all the resources. The migrants are monopolizing the resources. $51 million. Chicago has 65,000 homeless black people. Chicago has more than 65,000 homeless black people. New York City has over 50,000 homeless black people. We have single black mothers homeless with children. We have single black mothers homeless with children.
Sounds like they need to make some better decisions in their life, if you ask me. That's just me talking out loud. Never mind that. Sound like we need to get these single mothers to close their legs and to start opening up their brains so that they can actually go and get a job instead of getting some. Let me be quiet. I don't want to say that out loud.
We got unemployed black men in half the black men in Chicago are unemployed. Half the black men in Chicago are unemployed. Half the black men in New York are unemployed.
Wait a minute. I thought that unemployment was at historic lows. Just curious. I thought that unemployment in this country was at historic lows. Now, you know me. I'm willing to hold these cities accountable, especially these liberal dumps. But I'm also a part of the solution, because as much as I love Miami and as much as I love Southern Florida and all of these other cities, I won't move there. I won't move to Dallas. I love Dallas. I won't move to Nashville. I love Tennessee. They don't have any state taxes. But I've moved deeper into my city because I want to be a part of the fabric that actually pays their taxes and hopefully contributes to the well-being and the growth of the city, right? But just curious, we got record low unemployment, and half of these black people in these cities don't have no job? Is that an identity politics issue, or is that the fact that you not going to work and you not trying to actually look for a decent paying position? You rather chill. Honestly, is that a choice thing, or is that an environment thing? Just curious. Is that a choice thing, or is that an environment thing? I love to hold people accountable, but I'm not gonna blame somebody else for you not having a job, big dog. I got like 8 jobs. I got so many jobs that black people get mad at me and go off on me at the fact that I still got a job. They think that I'm Nigerian or I'm Jamaican because I be having so many forms of employment and income, different sources of income running it in, because I'm so not lazy. I got so many jobs. They said, Anton, I can't believe you working for the white man. Silly me. For all of the jobs that y'all don't want, I'm going to go ahead and get that bag. You know what I'm saying? I got so many jobs. They be like, man, I can't believe you working a job. You need to start more and more businesses and just work for yourself and deploy yourself and all of this other type of stuff. Man, let me tell you something, bro. I'm like Steve Harvey when it comes to getting to this bag. All money in, no money out. I know we give Steve Harvey a lot of shit when it comes to how it is that he tells us to run our relationships and simping for these chicks. But let me tell you something. There's some things that you can learn from people that you don't necessarily agree with. And Steve Harvey got that work ethic and he get that bag, man. I got so many forms of income. I'm trying to figure out how I can get another form of income, but y'all keep trying to slow me down. Keep trying to make me feel like I'm a bad person because I want to go to work and make some more money.
Half the black men in New York are unemployed. So how you got 51 million in Chicago, 51 million in Chicago for migrants when we have black people who don't even have their basic needs being met?
That sounds like a personal
And
problem.
then in New York, New York has 61,000 migrants. 61,000. And Mayor Eric Adams is using black people's tax money. Mayor Eric Adams in New York City is using black people's tax money to house in New York City hotels. And you know how expensive New York City.
Well, how did it just become black people's tax money? I understand that he is correct on this, and that Eric Adams is using tax money in order to pay for hotels and paying people, allegedly is looking to pay people to even let them live in their homes. But how did it just become black people tax money? I thought it was everybody's tax money that lived in New York City.
Hotels are. Eric Adams is paying for 37,000 migrants to be housed every night in New York City
Yeah, that's
hotels.
wild. That is wild. That's wild.
I'm going to say it again.
Now, the one thing that I do agree with Dr. Umar Johnson on is that it is unfortunate that we would spend more time, resources to pour into people that's not even from this country than trying to invest in and enable the people that inherently are already here. I think America has lost its way in that it's not an America first. I think that, and I genuinely, honest to God, don't understand it. I do believe in immigration, but I believe in legal immigration. I don't believe in becoming an asylum country. I don't believe in illegal immigration. I don't believe in skirting the law and doing anything out of order. I think that we need to close off our borders, be a lot more vigilant about what the fuck is coming into this country, and we need to be seeking out and having the best and the brightest come into this country, and those that then become a part of the fabric and the taxes that we then use in order to continue to improve what it is that we got from going on from an infrastructure perspective, an education perspective, technology, so on and so forth. Immigration is not a bad thing. Immigration, when legal, is a good thing. These are people that then pay the highest prices when it comes to college tuition because, in state, out of state, and then overseas as a result of coming into this country and paying tuition, they pay the highest prices when it comes to tuition. Immigration can be a good thing. A lot of wealth is created from people that inherently come into this country and create their own businesses and so on and so forth. But if you want to go in here and you want to become an asylum city and a place where people can come in and do whatever it is that they want when they want to do it, then that is a problem. That is a huge problem. And he's absolutely right about that.
I'ma say it again. Eric Adams is paying black people's tax money. Eric Adams is paying for black people's tax money to pay for 37,000 migrants to be housed in New York City hotels. Lord have mercy. How much money is that every night? Can my New York City Africans tell me how much is Eric Adams
Now,
paying every day?
You know we don't like math. You know we don't like math, big dog. You know we don't like math over here in these streets.
For 37,000 migrants to be housed in New York City hotels every night. 37,000 migrants a night, and we paying for it. $51 million in Chicago. They paying for food, clothing, shelter. They have opened up the closed schools in Chicago. All them schools in Chicago that they closed down years ago, claiming they couldn't afford to keep open, those schools in Chicago have been renovated. They have been renovated, and now the migrants in Chicago are sleeping in the closed schools in the black community.
He is right about that. He is right about that. They are finding money everywhere in order to be able to. And I'm assuming, and I haven't done any research on this, but you guys, hopefully, you guys can give me a little bit of insight on this. I'm assuming that they're getting a lot of this money from the federal government, that they're incentivized. Again, let me say it one more time. They're incentivized by the federal government, and this is just a theory. This is not me knowing it 100%, because a lot of these budgets are fucked up over in these cities, and they don't have the resources to be able to do this themselves. They're incentivizing these other cities. The federal government is incentivizing these cities to take in these migrants, and that's what you see playing out, and that's why they're finding the money to be able to do it. So it all goes back up to the top. It all goes back up to your president. It all goes up to your Congress. It goes to your legislative branches. When you're talking about budgets, when you're talking about Treasury, what's up, Rita? When you're talking about all of these different things, it all comes back down to the money. It comes back down to the money. So it's some things that I disagree with Dr. Umar Johnson about. It's some things that I agree with Dr. Umar Johnson about. But the one thing is for sure, and the two things is for certain, is that I think that the people that actually understand how money works, the people that don't want to be on this liberal plantation, the people that actually don't want to continue to subject themselves to the voting patterns, and those that don't have our best interests at heart, you need to get the hell out of these cities and go into other places where you celebrate it, not where you tolerate it.